Hello and welcome to another episode of Canadian History Ehx. Thousands of years after the indigenous people made their way into North America, Europeans began to arrive. Now it's generally accepted that the Vikings were the first to land around 1000 AD in what would one day be Newfoundland and Labrador. Between the landing of Leif Erikson in 1000 AD and the arrival of John Cabot in 1497, were there any other European arrivals in North America? Now it's accepted that this was a period of time with no Europeans coming to North America, but there is the legend of Henry Sinclair, the Earl of Orkney. So let's look at who Sinclair was. Sinclair was a Scottish-Norwegian noble born around 1345 as the son of William Sinclair, the Lord of Roslin, and his wife Isabella. Following his father's death in 1358, he became the Baron of Roslin. According to the legend around him in his voyage, he would travel to North America about 100 years before the voyages of Christopher Columbus. There's no contemporary accounts from this time of Sinclair to back up his travels across the ocean, but many theories around his voyage come up long after his death. So let's explore those. The tale of his voyage states that he left Europe in 1398 to travel to Nova Scotia. He outfitted 9 galleys, sometimes stated to be 12, with 300 men and departed from his castle to make the journey. Landing sometime in June of the same year in Guysborough Harbour, it is speculated by some that he even sailed to the Bay of Fundy. In 1784, Johann Reinhold Forster identified Sinclair as Prince Jacquemini, described in letters by the Zeno brothers of Venice as the person they voyaged around the North Atlantic with. The brothers apparently created a map that shows Greenland and the coast of Canada, but these letters and the map are generally considered to be a hoax. According to these letters, it is stated that Sinclair departed from Iceland and sailed 6 days to the west, but the winds pushed him to the southwest. After 4 days of sailing, the crew saw land. The crew went ashore and several men ventured into the land to explore it. The letters state, after 8 days the 100 soldiers returned and brought word that they had been through the island and up to the hill, and that the smoke was a natural thing, proceeding from a great fire at the bottom of the hill, and there was a spring from which issued a certain substance like pitch, which ran into the sea. The legend just doesn't rely on Forster and what he believed about the Zeno brothers. Supporters of the Sinclair theory state that there are stone carvings of American plants on a chapel in Scotland that was built by his grandson and completed in 1486, 6 years before Columbus. The carvings are stated to be that of sunflowers, corn, and aloe vera. But critics of this theory state that the plants are just stylized depictions of European plants like strawberries. Another aspect of the legend comes from the Native American historian Evan Pritchard, who claims that Glooskap, the spiritual hero of the Micmac people, is a depiction of an early European explorer, believed to be Sinclair. There are Micmac legends that speak of bearded visitors with red hair and green eyes who showed them how to fish with nets, and some claim this is even more evidence of Sinclair. And according to the Glooskap legend, Glooskap built himself an island, planted trees on it, and sailed away in his stone canoe. Diving into another theory, this one states that Sinclair was a Knight Templar and that the voyage was sponsored by the Templars. This is highly unlikely since the Templars had been suppressed in Europe for upwards of 50 years by the point Sinclair supposedly journeyed across the Atlantic. This theory also adds in it that he was carrying the Holy Grail with him. He apparently founded a community in Nova Scotia as a site of refuge for the Templars and the Holy Grail. This then ties it in with the mysterious remains of New Ross Castle, a ruin of stone walls near the community of New Ross in Nova Scotia that has been linked to the Vikings, a refuge built for an English king around 1600 AD, and the site that Sinclair founded upon his supposed arrival. Now, the problem with the theory of Sinclair reaching Canada a century before Cabot is that he did not bring anything back in terms of a historical record of his findings. There is no documentation of his voyage from that era, and the physical evidence is all based on speculation. Did Sinclair make the journey to Canada a century before Cabot? Likely not, But who really knows? Writer William Thompson put it best in his book, The New History of Orkney, when he said, "It has been Earl Henry's singular fate to enjoy an ever-expanding posthumous reputation, which has very little to do with anything he achieved in his lifetime." Information for this article comes from Wikipedia and Kings County News. I hope you enjoyed this episode of Canadian History Ehx, and if you did, please give a like and a review. You can contact me at crwbaird@gmail.com and reach me on Twitter at craigbaird. You can also read over 225 articles I've written on Canadian history on my website at CanadaEhx, that's ehx.blogspot.ca. Thanks, and we'll see you again next time.